Good day and welcome to X News Today. I'm Stephanie Anamu, bringing you the top story on Nigeria, where the ongoing demolition exercise in Makoko, one of Africa's largest and oldest floating slum communities, has escalated into a major controversy, with human rights groups, residents, and prominent voices accusing the Lagos state government of carrying out forced evictions, land grabbing, and what some describe as class cleansing targeting the urban poor. The demolitions, which began around December 23, 2025, have affected Makoko, a historic waterfront settlement of over 100,000 residents, often called the Venice of Nigeria, for its stilt houses built over the Lagos Lagoon. State officials have demolished hundreds, with some reports citing over 3,000, of wooden structures, claiming the action is necessary to enforce safety regulations around high-tension power lines and address environmental hazards in informal settlements. However, critics argue the scope has far exceeded initial justifications. Community leaders and rights organizations state that clearances have extended well beyond the legally required setbacks, typically 6 to 30 meters depending on voltage levels, with residents reportedly agreeing to 100 meters in some cases, reaching up to 500 meters in places, and destroying core residential areas, schools, clinics, and places of worship. A coalition of civil society groups, including Corporate Accountability and Public Participation Africa, CAPA, reported that more than 10,000 people have been displaced from Makoko alone, with thousands sleeping in boats, churches, open areas, or makeshift shelters exposed to weather, hunger, and health risks. At least 12 deaths have been linked to the operations, including 2 infants and an elderly woman allegedly from tear gas exposure or related trauma, alongside injuries from security force actions involving armed personnel, bulldozers, and in some cases, reported nighttime raids. Former Minister of Education and activist Dr. Oby Ezekwesili has been one of the most vocal critics. In an open memorandum addressed to President Bola Tinubu and Lagos Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, published in outlets like The Guardian and Premium Times, she described the demolitions as state-sanctioned oppression of the poor and an assault on constitutional citizenship. Ezekwesili accused authorities of breaching community agreements, extending demolitions far beyond safety zones for ulterior motives, and effectively criminalizing poverty in pursuit of a world-class city image. She wrote, "Makoko residents are not squatters on Nigerian soil. They are citizens. Yet, for decades, they have been treated as though poverty nullifies their citizenship." Ezekwesili warned that ignoring the humanitarian emergency, with children out of school, families homeless, and livelihoods destroyed, risks moral and social collapse in a country where over 133 million people live in multidimensional poverty. Rights groups have rejected the state's offers of palliatives and relocation stipends, demanding instead an immediate halt to demolitions and compliance with existing court orders, including a 2025 federal high court injunction restraining further evictions in Makoko and nearby areas, emergency shelter, healthcare, and educational support, full compensation for lost homes, businesses, and livelihoods, accountability for alleged excessive force and deaths, inclusive, in situ upgrading rather than forced removal. The Lagos state government has defended the exercise as essential urban renewal and safety enforcement, with Governor Sanwo-Olu stating palliatives would be provided. However, residents and advocates have dismissed these as inadequate, insisting on proper resettlement and an end to what they call a pattern of evictions seen in previous cases like Otodo Gibame and Oworan Shoki. International media, including the New York Times, Bloomberg, and Arab News, have highlighted the crisis, noting parallels to global debates on informal settlement management, where alternatives like in-situ upgrades as seen in parts of Nairobi or Cape Town preserve communities while improving safety and services. As protests continue and displaced families face an uncertain future, the Makoko situation has reignited broader questions about equitable development, the rule of law, and whether Lagos's ambition to become a respected megacity can succeed without addressing, rather than displacing, its most vulnerable residents. The demolitions remain ongoing in parts of the community, with calls mounting for urgent federal and state intervention to avert a deeper humanitarian disaster. That's it for now on X News Today. Stay tuned for more updates, and thank you for watching.